Hey, everybody, welcome back to The Reckoning. I'm Ryan Haidt. We are in it now, though. You don't just have to listen to me for the next few minutes. This is that time when the monologue dies down for you, and I get the great opportunity to bring someone to you, someone we haven't spoken to on the show before. I am grateful now to be joined by Mr. Robert Bortins, the CEO of Classical Conversations. Also, I love your bio. Homeschooled to homeschooler. As a K to 12 homeschooler, that tickles me. And also, I love your podcast as well, Refining Rhetoric, which I do listen to. That one's out there if you want to go and look it up. But Mr. Robert Borton's on with us now. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Ryan, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on the show, and it's a great day to be an American.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Well, I tell you what, I was, you've been on my radar for a while. We've actually got some friends and family. We're not part of Classical Conversations, but folks, if you're not familiar with this, you can go look them up, classicalconversations.com. I would love if you would just kind of give folks a brief overview of that, because I know, especially here in our listening area, the greater St. Louis area, there are tons of CC groups, but we have a huge homeschool community. But what really brought me to you is you've kind of been on my radar. I've always paid attention to you about commentary on the education issue, not just this specific organization. But then just in the last few days here, you and your mom, I believe, who's the original founder of Classical Conversations, you ended up on like the number one or number two Sean Ryan show. He always falls, it seems, there. One of the number one podcasts in the world. And I'm greatly hopeful that blew up as much as I heard about it. People saying, "Hey, did you know about this group?" Why, yes, I did. I'm ashamed that I haven't told you about it. So, yeah, if you would just, I'd love to get into a few things, but if you give people the background of Classical Conversations, where it came from, and kind of what you all are about now, I'd love to make sure it's on people's radar.
Yeah, Classical Conversations was started in our basement 29 years ago. My mom wanted to homeschool us through high school and knew we needed things like debate and being able to discuss history papers and dissect frogs and do a bunch of things that are really difficult to do alone. And so we started with 11 students in our basement in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And that has bloomed to a full K through 12 classical Christian community where unlike other homeschool programs, you're getting together once a week during the academic year with a trained parent tutor. The parents are involved, and we're helping you give your kid a great classical Christian education. We're in all 50 states. We're in 60 countries. Yeah, we are super excited. We help about 130,000 students around the world know God and make him known through their education.
That is awesome. And one of the things I love, because I think a lot of folks don't necessarily put it together. They know about, there's public school, private school, homeschool. Everyone knows about these. And private school comes in different flavors, parochial Catholic schools and this and that. But somewhere in there is classical training, classical schools, which are starting to become, I feel, more visible here and there. At least I'm seeing some smaller classical schools pop up. If you would differentiate that for me, obviously this is homeschool families. So if it's not a classical school that they're attending, it's a program. How would you define that for people? What is classical education versus just homeschooling at home, the way that traditional modern education would run? How would you distinguish those two?
Yeah, so classical education, we're going to read the founding documents. We're going to read what the authors thought. We're not going to read some book a woke professor wrote or somebody else. We're actually going to go back to the original source documents. We're going to look through it. Obviously, not the younger kids aren't doing debate, but we're going to do it through conversation and just talking about the different topics, looking at what the different experts are thinking. Versus a modern education is really going to go like an inch deep and cover a lot of different topics, but not necessarily go real deep. And so a classical education isn't going to like survey as many topics, but we're going to go really, really deep into a couple topics so that you learn really the process of learning anything. And so you don't have to worry about AI taking your job or some new science, thing coming along and, you're suddenly out of work. We're teaching students how to, really understand and take on whatever this world has to throw at them.
Yeah. Well, and the beautiful thing about it, most important of all, is that you're teaching children not just how to pursue the truth, but how to know its author, how to know the Lord, and that all of this knowledge and wisdom comes from Him. So that, you put that first, and then teach them how to learn, and kaboom, off they go.
What makes it much more exciting when we're a little bit lower than angels and a little bit higher than monkeys. And when you give a child a worldview that says you are created, you are loved, you can know who created you by understanding the world around you, and you do that through education, they're going to be much more engaged. And we see that through all levels. You know, we have special needs students and we have accelerated students, and they all are achieving amazing results.
Yeah, and that would, and again, remind folks if they're curious to know more about this and to plug in, where would they go to find out about it? Is there an opportunity to kind of try or look at it before they get into the program? I would love to make sure people know where to go, and then I've got some current events I'd like to ask you about.
Yeah, so go to classicalconversations.com, click in your zip code. Communities are winding down, but we have information meetings. If a community is still going on in your area, we have free open houses where you can come do like a one-day visit. And then in the summer, we have free what we call parent practicums. They're a one-day event, and they go over the classical model, a little bit about what we're going to do in classical conversations. But we have local homeschooling parents, mostly moms in your zip code, that will be happy to meet with you and talk to you, of course, about classical conversations, but about homeschooling in general as well.
Awesome. That's great. And again, I know it's, a lot of people, and I greatly hope, I mean, if, maybe I'll have you back on it at another point. I'd love to pick into a lot of stuff, but just in the few minutes here, I hope that you all experienced the same explosion it seems the homeschooling movement did post-COVID, not just because people saw, oh, bad influences, public schools, but people looked and said, this K-12 standardized testing-based system is just crap. There must be a better way. This isn't good for my kids. And I think a lot of people kind of got freed from the system and started looking around and really finding better systems that aren't even systems. It's just, it's being, being human, being a person, being a family unit, raising good little humans, good little Christians. And it appealed to them in a whole new way. And they found a lot of places like classical conversations. So I'm excited about that. I hope it's propelling you forward. In the meantime, though, let me ask you a couple of things about what's going on. Obviously, we are seeing a huge, and this is what I appreciate too, folks. You go follow on X. You can follow Robert Bortins. Again, we're on with the CEO, Classical Conversations, Robert Bortins, at the Robert B. Show on X. One of the first things I see on there from just today, I popped on to see what you were talking about. I see something about the school choice lobby wants you to, and ... And I thought, yes, this is my reminder why I appreciate following you and listening to your show, because you differentiate, I would assume. Is it fair to say you differentiate between school choice and educational freedom? And you would tend to say that the better direction to go is educational freedom, because we're certainly seeing a lot of states dive into that as the federal level gets hacked away and funding goes straight to the states. We, the people, have a lot of choices in front of us, our state legislatures, on, so how are we going to do education now if all these federal bureaucrats are about to dry up? But what do you think about what's going on? Are there any shining lights for you or worrisome things being cloaked in some sort of school choice language? Well, what would you say is your national picture?
Yeah, I think we're 100% for school choice and 0% for government funding that choice, because we believe in education independence. And we believe the fundamental flaw with education is that if you don't pay for it, you're not going to value it. And so Marxism is the redistribution of wealth. Ronald Reagan said the 9 scariest words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. We believe in first principles. I wish, the government funding all of the choices was the answer. But we see this in Europe. We've seen this in Sweden. We've seen this all over the place, and it doesn't work out. It starts with hopes and dreams, the same arguments we're hearing here in the States, and it ends in misery where there's no more choices except whatever the government deems is what they want you to do. And so it's ultimately a takeover of education and independence. And so I'd love to see states letting you keep your own money, not redistribute other people's money to you. I'd love to see states cut the red tape. Isn't that the conservative answer? Make it easier to start private schools. Make it easier to homeschool. My friends in Iowa, they got school choice, but they have so much red tape, it's almost impossible to start a new school there. And so they are slowly seeing prices increase. And educational independence. The government's never going to fund something that's going to help you overthrow them or be independent of them. It's a dependency trap, unfortunately. I want to get kids out of the public school system, right? We've been doing that for 29 years out of our own pocket, paying taxes into the system. Very sympathetic to that idea, but in the end, it might work out for a few years and for your kids, but it's not going to work out for your grandchildren. It's not going to work out for your great grandchildren. And it really puts in the mind of the conservatives that the government is responsible to pay for the education of all of its citizens. And that's simply not the case.
Yeah, and I mean, you say it, if you don't pay for it, you don't value it. Well, I pay for it and I don't value it. I don't, we pay for it and I don't use it. We're homeschooling our boys. We don't want
Yeah.
the education system involved. But that's what kind of frustrates me. And I wonder if you all are seeing any. I know I've heard you, on the topic. Our neighbors to the east here over in Illinois are getting real dicey with a brand new bill. I say a brand new bill. It's been working through the legislature this year, which is a huge crackdown. I think it says HB 2827, a big crackdown on all sorts of stuff, not just homeschoolers, on private schools as well. Massive government overreach. They've even got Americans for Prosperity and a bunch of other folks who don't typically do education that are all in on helping to stop this because it's such a gross government overreach. But in a lot of the big red states like Florida, even here in Missouri, we've got good, very good homeschool laws here in Missouri. When school choice things come forward, typically what I see is the offer of, well, here, we're going to provide homeschoolers the opportunity to participate in these things too, or to get this funding or that. And, my response, I see a lot of people go, oh, well, this is a good thing, right? And my response is, no, I don't want your money. I don't want it to come from you. Just stop taking it from me. Can we do that? Are there any states that you all have seen and kind of you're paying attention to this issue across the country that are moving in that direction? Or is it just oh, well, we'll give you the money too, homeschoolers, which isn't what most of us want. We just want to be left alone and also stop taking so much in taxes. Is anyone actually doing that?
Yeah, so on the Illinois 2827, that looks like it's been defeated, but it was defeated because we had the moral high ground because they're not taking any money in Illinois. In the state of Missouri or Florida, it's actually the state's legislators' responsibility to put strings attached to money because that's the conservative answer, right? We don't want to we see what's happening with USAID, right? You're just dealing out money willy-nilly and how much corruption there is. And we don't want corruption in the homeschool marketplace. The state of Georgia has a wonderful program where you can actually take some of your taxes, take it to a education nonprofit, and those nonprofits can donate money and help with scholarships. And that's actually 200% funded. And what that means is basically the government's getting 200% more money than they thought they would out of that program for half the cost. And so systems like that, while again, not perfect, are much more in line with what they're selling. Right. The problem with a bunch of these school choice laws is the marketing doesn't match the bills. And at some point, we have to ask ourselves, are they lying? Are they doing it intentionally? Or are they doing it out of ignorance? And so, yeah, let's create bills where we can support our neighbor without government intervention, where we can keep our own money. And there are some model bills out there that support that. But, it doesn't get a lot of money put back in other people's pockets. And, it's just a redistribution scheme. And so these are vendor bills. They'd be good for me. I could charge a lot more money if we were not morally opposed to taking this. And so, I think there is some behind the scenes talk of going towards more of a tax credit type system, even among these think tanks that are right now pushing these school choice bills. They are recognizing the flaws in it. And especially when they hear the arguments, like, we never thought about that. Let's redo it. But the train is so far down the track. They don't want to give up the momentum they have in some of these states. So they're willing to pass any law just to say that they passed something instead of really sitting back and making sure the law doesn't damage who they think they're helping.
Yeah. Well, in just my last minute or so here, because I know we're wrapping up, I know one of the touch points, you and I have a common friend, and Mr. Alex Newman, a wonderful guy who understands the long history of public education in America. Looking at what the Trump administration is doing, what Linda McMahon has promised her, she's coming in to see the end of her role and what she was brought in. I hear a lot of good things, but do you think from what you're seeing that they actually are going to wind up just about as much as is possible? Obviously, Congress has to take care of it a little bit. There's funding mechanisms that exist outside the federal Department of Ed. Do you really think they're going to do it this time? Do you see a will potentially inside the Trump administration to bring an end to the federal behemoth behind education?
Well, I think we got to take those two things apart. One, I think there is a political will inside the Trump administration to end the Department of Education. But if they still have the funding just being distributed through other means, and if there's still Every Child Succeeds Act and Common Core and all these federal laws, the federal government should have no laws related to education. As long as those still are on the books, I don't know how much benefit just ending the Department of Education and just moving those same laws to other departments is going to have. And then I feel like from the behind the scenes conversations I'm having with different congressmen and senators that there might be the political will to actually end it in the Congress, which is where they have to do it. Otherwise, it's just going to be brought back the next time status is in there. So we got to keep fighting and encouraging our legislators to actually end it through law.
Yeah, absolutely. There may be the will, but we also need a majority. Oh, my goodness. Mr. Robert Bortins, thank you so much for joining me. ClassicalConversations.com. Folks, you can find him on X at The Robert B Show. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll be right back here on The Reckoning, taking a quick break.